Hi everyone, welcome to another interview with the author, and today we're going to be speaking with David Jon O'Neill, the author of this fantastic book here, and he's going to speak to us about his journey on the Right Now 90-Day Challenge program. So hi David, thank you so much for joining us.
My absolute pleasure, Karen. So honoured to be here, especially in the presence of some of your new students and right now authors to be in the room as well, which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of them with us to ask questions, and they're in the program at the moment. They're up to Construct, the second part of the program. So when we did the beat sheet, just to give you a bit of an idea of where they're at. So I'm sure they'll have some really awesome questions for you.
Great.
I would first of all love to know from you, what is the piece of advice that you'd love to give these guys right now? Because they're in that part where they're structuring their book. It's in that part where they're getting that clarity of what's going to be included. So do you have any advice to these guys at this stage?
Yeah, look, in my humble opinion, I think a couple of things. Firstly, as much as you're tempted, don't get ahead of the program. That's a big thing, because I know a few of us struggled in the first group. You know, you want to get to the writing stage, and you're stuck on the big picture, but you have to remember the importance of the integral steps along the way. And I mean, Karen's put together an incredible program. You guys will know by now already how user-friendly it is, how self-explanatory it is, and it's, for those of us that have done the TCI program, it's similar. It's like, you know, follow the guides, and it's exactly the same with Karen's program. Just follow the steps. So that'd be my first bit of advice. Try not to get ahead of yourself. Complete each step, because even if you have an idea of what the book is going to be in the end, this will help fill in any of the gaps or trouble spots that you may come across along the way. I know I had that issue with Karen myself. I'm speaking from experience. You know, I got to a certain point in the program where, you know, I got a bit stuck, and Karen just guided me back to these steps that I'd already completed. So I had this as a reference along the way as well. So that's really important. The other thing is to persist. You will get to a point where it will seem like it's hard. It will seem like, am I getting my message across the way I want it to? And again, the best thing I can say is persist, follow the steps, go through each step, and your message will come out. You all have a message to tell. That's clear by you being here today, and let the program help you get your message out.
That's awesome. Oh my God. We'll just end it there. That was fantastic. And I know that what you said is really going to land with a few people in particular in the program right now, and definitely with people in future programs when they come back and write this, because this is going to be available for the rest of time. This will outlast, you know, Elon Musk's Tesla in space. So, well, maybe not. We'll give it a shot. So I would love to know, what was your favourite part of the program?
Interesting question. Look, I think one of my favourite things was, I think, at the end, to look back and to see how, I guess it's kind of at risk of repeating what I just said, at how I was able to follow a number of logical steps to produce a creative product at the end of the day. I think, the fact the program itself is my favourite part. You know, you're talking to someone that I've been a performer for 20 years now, and I know it doesn't feel right. And that's all I've ever known. And as much as I regard myself as quite good at interpreting other people's words, whether that be on stage in a play or through song and stuff like that, I've always had a hang-up over being able to come up with my own words. And I knew I had a message to tell with my book, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. And Karen and her program helped me bring that message out. So what I'm trying to say is that even though I've been around words in one shape or another my whole life, it's never been original words coming from me. I really had this block about the fact that I wasn't a writer and I couldn't write.
And I remember you saying that to me at the start, actually, when we first started this program. One of the first things you said to me is, I'm not a writer. I can't write. And
Absolutely.
so I'd love to know how you managed that, because you're not the only one. I've had other people say that as well. What was the thing that helped you get through that?
To be honest, our first conversation, or I can't remember what you call them when you have the initial conversation with people.
The strategy session? Yeah.
Yeah, the strategy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Told you, I'm not a master of words by any stretch of the imagination. Our first strategy session, you really helped me discover that I could do it. And part of it was, to be honest, the big thing for me to get over was my own self. And I guess with that, my own perfectionism. It's something that I've been, I wouldn't say struggling with, but it's something that I've been slowly, it's a part of me that I've been slowly evolving with myself through my own personal journey, through TCI and the likes. And so I really had to take that one step further, because I guess the thing I was thinking is, any words I put down are there forever. Therefore, they have to be perfect and all this sort of stuff. What you explained to me, which I still remember to this day, is that you have to remember that a book, as it's published, is essentially a snapshot in time. It's my message that I have to tell at this particular stage. If I procrastinate over that and wait another 20 years, I'm going to have a different message to tell. But think of all the books I could have in between then, just because, and I still think that now, like I'm so proud of this book. I know all too well that it's not perfect. But I'm proud of where it is now and how the message can continue along the way. I don't know if I answered your question. I probably got on a bit of a tangent. I'm so sorry.
No, and you answered it perfectly, and it takes me straight into the next question, which is, tell us about your message. What prompted you to write your book? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, my book is called The Performer's Manifesto, How to Succeed in Show Business by Really Trying. And which is, for those who may not be aware, it's a play on words of another show. But this is a message I've been wanting to tell for probably almost a decade. So as I mentioned before, I've been fortunate enough to be a professional performer for 27 years. That's my trade. That's what I do. And I found I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm also passionate about the industry that I'm in. And I found that inevitably, as you get older in the industry, you start working with younger people coming through the ropes. And I found a couple of things. I found that the younger people that were coming through are extremely talented because they have so many more resources than I have when I started out. There are so many full-time performance colleges and performance schools out at the moment where they can really hone their craft. They go from high school to these 1, 2, or even 3-year courses where they really get to hone their craft and their skill, and they come out incredibly talented. Their skill set is I hate to use the word perfected because there's no perfection in art, but it is perfected to where it can be at that point. But they were lost as to what to do next because this has always been an industry where there's never been a rule book for success. It's not like, say, to be a lawyer, you have to do this many years of study, then you've got to go through this apprenticeship, and then you work your way up to this level and all that. There's never been a rule book for success in the performance industry. But what I have learned through my own trials and tribulations is that there are, in fact, steps that you can take and things that you can put into place to create your own success in the business. And I guess as much as I'm not by any stretch of the imagination famous or a name, I've made a living out of what I love to do for almost 27 years. And that after speaking to other people, it made me realize that's a rarity and that I have something to share through those trials and tribulations. So through the last decade, putting this message together, I put all these trials and tribulations into a formula that essentially form 3 pillars or foundations of success for artists to follow. And one success is based on the skill set and the talent, but there are other two there we go. There are other two incredible or important pieces of the puzzle that many performers don't know, A, what they are, or B, how to go about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what has this done for you and for your potential clients?
Yeah. What it's done is clarify my message. I guess as over the last decade, as I've been working on what I want to say, I've always stumbled over the words. I've always I've had a big picture vision, because this over time, this message and getting this message out has become just as much a passion of mine as performing has, which I never thought I would find anything that I'm as passionate about as performing. But because I'm also extremely passionate about the industry that I'm in and wanting other people to find the best of themselves within this industry that they love, I've become equally passionate about getting this message out as well. So it certainly helped me clarify the message, quite literally put it into words.
Yeah, you did.
which is something that I always doubted myself over, and the proof is now in the pudding. Like I said, it's not perfect, and I already know the next steps I want to take, but it's there, and yeah, I'm really.
So what are the next steps that you want to take? So I know that we've had a bit of a conversation about some potential changes, etc. Yeah,
some tweaks. The good thing is, to be honest, I haven't done a hard push on the book. A lot of that I've dealt with a bit of personal stuff over the last 6 months, which has kind of just distracted me. But that's not in there.
Yeah,
exactly. Life absolutely happens. Again, it's not to say that I'm not proud of it, but what I have done through this time is I've started giving it to people that I care about. I mean, I have a large circle of friends within the industry. It's just how it happens, obviously. And so people that I respect and people that have gone through similar things to me, I've given out copies to them.
Cool.
And asked them for genuine feedback and genuine constructive criticism. And because I know that what I want to do is I really want to tweak this, and I'm going to do a relaunch essentially of a tweaked version of this, of an updated edition of the same book.
Yeah.
Because then I can also have this message lead on to the next thing.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that. And I've just got some comments here that I want to share with you. So Amy says, "That's so awesome. You rock. Love it." And Amy would like to know, what has that given to your identity? Wow, what an awesome question. Yeah, that's a big one.
That is such an awesome question, actually, because I've been coached on that quite a bit over the last year. I'm someone that's always identified myself as a performer, and I guess as exciting as that is, and as impassioned as I am about that, it's also kind of limiting. It's almost like, well, is that all I am? Which is probably where part of my hang-ups came from, with being able to do more than that, because it's all I've ever known. So it's really, I've always had a belief that, I think deep down, one of my beliefs is that I can do anything I put my mind to, but then I've had other voices inside me that have suppressed that over the years. And this, I think that's one of the biggest wins for me, is that this belief has come through and won at the end of the day in this small way. So I guess it's grown my identity. It's made me, I'm an author. I'm a published author.
Yeah, you are.
Who would have fucking thought? Excuse my French. And which I don't know why we say that, because fuck isn't a French word. But it blows my mind that I can actually say that.
Yeah.
And
it's proof. Look, proof.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably redefined who I am today, and known and helps me realize that I can continue to grow in ways that I may not even think possible now.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that leads on to a question I'd love to ask you. What do you think was, for you, the biggest growth that you've seen in yourself through the process of writing your book?
Look, again, as much as it's a non-fiction book that's essentially outlining a formula, it's based on, as I said, my trials and tribulations. So it was quite an emotional journey to get those words on paper. It's kind of hard sometimes to look back and see where you've gone wrong and in the past, and then you flip that emotion and go, and then you realize, wow, if I can help one person to not go through that stage, then this is worth it, And then there's a few of those stages throughout the book, and I think if I can possibly help one person get over one of the many, many, many hurdles they will go through in this business to stay on track, then it's worth it. I mean, that's the other thing. My other motivation behind this is that, as I said to you, there's many young people that come into the business that not knowing what to do. There's also many people that have tried for years to make a living out of what they do and have struggled in one form or another and have quit well before their time because they haven't known what to do. So it's just as much for those people as well to say that, I've seen far too many talented people give up on their dreams because they haven't known the steps to put into place.
Yeah. So you said something before that there was no rule book. So do you feel like you've created, I wouldn't say a rule book, but maybe a guidebook?
Yeah. I struggle to sort of to boast or toot a horn or stuff, but if I think about it logically, but if I think about it logically, it kind of is. Like, it's really, I'm quite proud of the fact that I've been able to narrow this down into 3 distinct pillars, and then within those pillars, there's individual steps they can take. It's by no means definitive, which is why it probably is not a definitive rule book, but it's certainly a guidebook. I think your words are absolutely correct. And I think it would be a helpful guidebook for someone starting out in the business, which is my avatar and is my aim for this particular book. This particular book is aimed at those starting out in the business by giving them the foundations to create their own success with what they do. And then, as I said to you before, I hope that message grows and it can evolve into then me, creating a deeper message for those that have been in the business for a while and focus more on how they can get from where they are to keep moving forward.
Yeah, love it. Oh my God, you're so awesome. So we have another question for you. Amy's got some great questions. So how many times did you want to give up, and how did you move through that?
Yeah. There's probably 2 ways I could answer that. On the surface, realistically, on the surface, probably a dozen to 20 times through the course of the program.
Well done.
Yeah, look, I'm being conservative. So in one way, like at individual points, absolutely, a number of times, too many to count. In another way, never. Yeah. Because when it comes back to the message and my big why, that's what kept me going. That's what stopped me from quitting. There was many points where I thought, this is going to be shit. No one's going to want to read it. And look, and I still struggle with that now. I find myself, I'm going to be really brutally honest with you here and totally transparent. I do find myself giving it to some people in the industry that I know and respect. Yeah. And I've caught myself saying, they comment on the book, and I've caught myself saying, look, it's not perfect, but I'm proud of it. So that's a big step for me. That's a big step. I know that's an undersell, and it's kind of it's.
But it's a big step for you to give it to them in the first place.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So I hope that answers the question, Amy. I'm scared of Amy's questions because she's very smart.
And we've got her on mute, but she's laughing her ass off. I love it so much. And I just want to kind of add to what you've said. As someone that has 35 years of writing experience, I still get that too. I still have the, oh my God, this is crap. And you've read Cupid's Guide. You've read that. You loved it.
Oh, yes.
And like, I was even giving that to you, I was still going, oh God, I just, So it's, you know what? It's okay. And it's not about perfection. Because like you said, perfection doesn't exist. Yeah.
Which leads me to another point too, if you don't mind me butting in. Sorry, Karen, is that remembering your audience. And so a number of times whenever I wanted to quit, I had to remember, hang on, I'm not trying to tell Hugh Jackman what to do. I'm trying to tell the person that's starting out from scratch the next steps they can take to create their own success. I had to keep remembering, you know, it. Again, like we're always told, you know, as long as you're one step ahead of your client or the person that you're telling, and that's what I had to keep remembering to tell myself is that, no, I have got a message that my readers will find important. So even if they're, and that's hard because obviously as we're writing our books, we're in our heads where we are at the moment and we're so crucial of every word that we're writing, it's very easy to forget and take a step back and go, hang on, I need to read this from the point of view of the person who I want to receive this message. And that was a big thing to remember through the way as well. And probably some of the things that got me back on track when we were talking before about how many times I want to quit, probably some of how I got myself back on track and thinking back to the big why was through that.
Yeah, I love that because we do talk about so much in this program about it. You're not writing the book for you, you're writing the book for your audience. And when people say to me, you know, how can I do this? I say, how can you not? Because that person is waiting for that message. Who else is going to do it if you're not? Can you imagine if people didn't have access to this? This is amazing. This is something that didn't exist before. And Amy actually reframed that the wording of guidebook to framework. And I actually think that's a really good word for it. Yeah, this is a framework for people to actually move forward and start building their career. And if you hadn't have gotten over your own shit and gone, you know what, even though I'm scared, and all of those moments of wanting to quit is because it's so outside your comfort zone, yeah?
Oh, massively.
If you hadn't have gone, doesn't matter because the message is most important, this wouldn't exist. And what a shame that would be.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. So, and I think you hit the nail on the head then when you said outside your comfort zone. I don't know if the other authors on the phone call are feeling like that at all. I mean, maybe you're very comfortable in what you're doing, and which is fantastic. But I think
you're getting a lot of shaking heads.
Yeah. But I think many of us, we're well outside our comfort zone, you know, and that's a scary thing. But like we say, greatness only happens outside your comfort zone. You know, you've got to. And again, like as much as, you know, people think that because you're up on stage and doing what you do in front of audiences that it must be easy to get outside your comfort zone. And no, that is my comfort zone. That's the thing. But everyone has their own comfort zone. This was well outside my comfort zone. And I think because I'd done the one thing that I know that I'm good at for many years, I've essentially stayed well inside my comfort zone. And it was probably the fear of stepping outside the comfort zone was just as big as the fear of not being perfect in the first place.
Wow. I love that. That's amazing. So we've got a couple of questions that have come up. And
yeah, please.
I want to ask you one more question before we get on to those, because we're just talking about comfort zone and not being perfect. And what you just said at the end then was just really awesome. And I want to ask you one question around that. And that is, how's your comfort zone now with writing a book? Like if you were to write another book now, where's your comfort zone around that?
Look, I wouldn't say it's brought back into my comfort zone, but it's within reach.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I guess I know that I've done it once, so I can do it again. But then I guess part of you, the next fear to get over is, well, can I do it again? Have I said all the words that I can say? Essentially, like,
Yeah.
it's true. So there is that fear, which is perhaps even partly why I'm focusing on tweaking what I've got before taking the next step. You know,
we might have to have a conversation.
We might have to, but you know, absolutely. Look, I would say that it's one book, so it's clearly not in my sweet spot, but it's, rather than being way out there, it's within reach. It's something that I can just reach out and attempt to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, you can hit me up, so you know you. So let's jump into some questions here now. I have one from Amy, which was, what new opportunities are now available to you?
Well, I think, as much as I mentioned before that I've defined my message and grown my identity as a person, it's also helped define my ideal client, or my avatar, through this as well. Because I guess as we write the words, and obviously we have a particular, I guess, niche in mind, I guess it becomes a little bit narrower as we focus the book, which is a great thing. You know, we all know that the narrower the niche, the better, because someone is really going to get something from it. They're really going to be helped by it. So I think, yeah, it probably has helped me focus in on my target market, so to speak, because this is, I plan on this being the first step, or a lead magnet, essentially, to a business that, as Karen knows, I've been developing over the last 6 to 9 months based around this concept. So this is really, it's also helped define the direction of my business through that as well, because as I've laser focused this message, you can't help but carry that over to everything else. You laser focus your audience, you laser focus your grand vision, and everything seems much more achievable. I don't think I ever doubted that I could do it, but as I said at the start, I maybe doubted some of the steps as to how I do it. Whereas I think, having done this and defining my message the way I have, I think it's helped define the steps to take to get there.
That's epic. Yeah, that's epic. So it's not just about writing a book. This is something that, it's kind of...
For me, you know, as we know, everyone has their own reasons for doing what they do. I mean, some people want to get a message out. Some people might just want to tell their story to whoever wants to listen. Some people might want to come up with a great creative story like yourself. But for me, that was always part of the big picture. And so it's helped me really define my big picture.
Love that. Oh my goodness. That was a great answer. Oh my goodness. All right. Next,
I might have to watch that back later.
Hey?
I might have to watch that back later then.
So Nina has said, I love your honesty, can so identify with your words because you're amazing. What else have we got here? So we've got from Kerry, did you have someone within your industry mentor you along the journey of writing the book to add ideas, or is it your own ideas, message only? Great question.
Great question, Kerry. Thank you. Not through the process of writing the book, no. That could be for a few reasons. Think inside myself and come to terms with some demons. That might be partly because I deep down doubted that I could do it at some points along the way. But no, I didn't actually have an industry mentor along the way, but I've had many mentors over the period of time with what I've done. Like I said, this is my experience. It's the experience of my peers. It's the experience of my mentors. It's things that I've learned from my mentors. It's mistakes. It's tribulations. It's also another thing that has helped is my self journey with my coaching, because that's helped me that's really helped me with my languaging and helped me to I guess get the message down on paper in a way that is more likely to help people. if that makes sense. I can't really speak well tonight. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, yeah, you usually speak kind of good.
Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking of too many words at once, and it didn't really come out well. But
Yeah,
to answer Julie's question, I didn't have a mentor through the process of writing the book, other than my critical friend, which was very important. Another great part of the program that I think is so important, and the group itself. And then it was just the journey that I was on, I guess, was my mentor and my experience.
Yeah, you rock. So Amy says, that's awesome. I think she's just talking about everything you've said, because let's face it, it's all been awesome. And she said, thank you for sharing. And we all say thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability too, because you've been very honest and open. We love that. So let's see. Fiona says, anything that we produce will be imperfect. That's honest. Yes. I admire you backing it up but I'm proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I have made sure that whenever I've said that, I'm in the habit of saying, of following it up with, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. And you'll get to the point at some time where you just be like, I'm proud of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that'll come. And like I said, for me, that's a vast improvement as to where I was.
Yeah. It's all part of the journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Rock on. So we have from Nina. As a newbie to writing a guidebook that will hopefully help others, what was one thing that kept you focused? No, way out of comfort zone. So what kept you focused and what kept you while you were outside of that comfort zone? I hope I've read that correctly, Nina.
Yeah, very good question, Nina. You people scare me with your questions. I'm kidding. What kept me focused? I guess just my passion. I think, and again, it all comes back to the big picture. And it's funny, I haven't really verbalized that whole idea of the big picture as much as I have in this interview tonight, but it's when I really try and put into words my experience. This is probably the first time I've done that. I think I did. I focused on the big picture, and I think without knowing it at the time, my purpose was more known to me than I actually thought. So I think I knew that this was the step that I had to take. I knew that I had to do this. And it's kind of everything coming full circle. What Amy said before about my identity, I knew that I had to take this step to grow myself. And I think it's the first thing that it's the first kind of goal that I'd set for myself in a way outside of the industry or outside of my comfort zone, that I had to stick with and follow through. And it is probably the first thing that I've ever followed through outside my comfort zone. I hope that helps.
Nailed. And you nailed it. It's amazing. Everyone should read this. So I've got another one from Amy. Now, we've kind of touched on this. Has your comfort zone now expanded? So we kind of touched on this in relation to the book, but what about in general?
Amy has such a great way of languaging things. And I think that's exactly it. When we're saying, it's not in my comfort zone, but yes, my comfort zone has expanded. And that's a very good way of languaging it, because I think now that I would be less reluctant to maybe step outside my comfort zone to try something else that scares the living shit out of me. Because I've done this once before. So, so I think that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, my comfort zone is certainly expanded. Like I said, the book's probably, or writing is probably still sitting in the same place out there, but my comfort zone's got a little bit closer to it. Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Now,
as well, Amy?
Hey?
I just start saying, can I use that as well?
It's okay. It's being recorded. So Fiona says, I'll be writing my first book from within my comfort zone, but putting it in print for the world to read, positioning myself as an authority, pretty massive stretch.
Absolutely. And I can totally relate, Fiona. I think that's not exactly, we're all on a different journey, but that's essentially, I guess, the kind of journey that I was on. That was the one thing that I guess I wasn't totally outside my comfort zone, because I'm not writing or coming up with a story from scratch. I was literally pulling from the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I've done for years, and the stepping outside the comfort zone part was to then put it into writing and to make a book out of it. So yeah, very similar. I applaud you for doing it, because even though we are utilizing our comfort zone, it doesn't make the process any easier. Whether you're taking a jump outside your comfort zone or you're just taking a step outside your comfort zone, you're still outside your comfort zone. So and it's all relative. So absolutely, I guess maybe there was a small comfort by knowing that I kind of knew what I was talking about. But I think if we're all truthful, if we've all got a message to tell, the message comes from within our comfort zone, and we're stepping outside our comfort zone to deliver that message in book format. So yeah, stick with it. I'd take my hat off to you, Fiona. If I had a hat on, I'd take it off.
Do you need to go get a hat?
I'd look bad in hats.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Nina says, for me, it's about helping others find their inner strength. How does that relate to your book? Because I feel that it does, because I feel that for yours being a framework, let's call it now, because that's an awesome way to refer to it. I feel that it is really about them tapping into their inner strength to be able to get out of their own way and do those steps.
Absolutely. And that was really the final piece of the puzzle for me. I think, as I said, I've worked on this message for close to a decade, and I knew the strategic things that I wanted to talk about, but it was only when I started focusing on the self and the internal journey that is important in everyone's life, and putting that in a way that performers can relate to it and really, make their inner journey just as important in the process, is when it all started to come together. So it's extremely important. And I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we all know people going through an inner journey is something that people have to do when they're ready. And if your book is there for them when they're ready, then that's an amazing thing. That's the best thing you can do. I think that's a brave thing that you're doing, because obviously talking about an inner journey is going to mean you're going to be tapping into an inner journey yourself along the way through writing this book. So stick with it, because I think it's incredibly important, that message you've got to tell.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on something really important there that kind of links back to what you said before, and that was, how many books could you have in 20 years instead of waiting if you did those books? And you're tapping into people that are ready at different stages of that journey as well. So you actually build relationships that follow through, and you tap into so many people at different stages of their inner journey.
Absolutely. And I think that's another part of the conversation that we had with our strategic conversation was when you explained that about, when I was kind of having this discussion with you about getting over perfectionism and having, again, I went from this idea that I had to, the thing that scared me about writing was that I had to come up with this definitive book that was going to stand the test of time and had to be perfection in print. Rather, which is fucking impossible, than actually doing exactly what you said. It's a snapshot of where you are at your journey, and also of where your audience is on their journey. And as you go through your journey, your audience is, if you've done your job well with the first book, is going to go through their journey and be ready for your next one as well. So, it's the sky's not even the limit.
That's it. There is no limit. Maybe there is no sky. Now, Amy's got another question. Are you ready? How much did you discover about your journey as you put it into language?
Yeah, a lot. It's a hard thing to go back and focus on some mistakes. I'm not one that doesn't believe in regrets. I have some regrets. And it's a hard thing to focus on, but I guess it's also been a healing process, realizing that it's only through what I've been through that A, I'm able to write this book, and B, potentially help other people. It's not to help other people not go through their own mistakes, but maybe they can make their own new mistakes and not have to make these ones that I've already made. so there's that aspect of it. But yeah, the personal journey was, it came at the right time. You know, I really, that's partly led to the additional journey that I've gone on with myself over the past few months, because I think it did open up a few wounds, or not wounds is probably the wrong word, but it did start to just open my mind more and get deeper in my own journey as well through putting my thoughts and experiences into words.
Love that. So you said something then that I found really interesting, and that was that it was you're hoping people can make new mistakes. And so you've made the mistakes. So through sharing that, you're hoping people can make other mistakes. And I think that is so important, because I think people need to realize, and I think most of you do, but sometimes we forget that everything that we learn has been learned by somebody else who put in this much time. It's been learned by somebody who put in this much time, who discovered it, invented it, created it, and put in their whole life. So for me, my first book, it took me 4 years to publish it. You just did your first book in 90 days because of that process.
Yeah.
So, and that's what your book's going to do for somebody else. And then instead of them taking 27 years, you said the number so I can say it, instead of them taking 27 years to work this out, they can work it out from the start. That's
at least give them a couple more steps forward, I think, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Give them a guideline, a framework.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing is that you never can and you never want to stop people making mistakes. I mean, mistakes, we all know, have a purpose. Mistakes is how we grow, and mistakes is, and the thing is, so I figure if I can help someone grow in one aspect from my mistakes, then they've already grown from that one. They can go and make other new mistakes to then grow from, and they're going to
teach people that.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
I love it. And that's how information gets passed down through the ages. That's how wisdom travels. That is the conduit. Fantastic. Love it. You're a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is, the other part of this process that was probably difficult for me is that I've never, as much as I've never considered myself a writer, it's probably partly because I've never really been a reader, much to my own probably disgust. But I've never. Look, I've probably read 3 novels since I've finished high school, and the ones. Is that including mine? 4 novels since I finished high school, and that's only, and the ones I read in high school were only because I had to. I think that's partly because I didn't have a great experience, which I think I touched on with you in our initial conversation. I didn't have a great experience in school. I mean, I essentially, I remember still to this day in high school attempting creative writing and got slammed for it by my teachers. And that's where that seed was planted that I couldn't write.
It's a common story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was was mine. And I mean, luckily it didn't squash my confidence in other areas, and I was able to, then think, well, if I can't write, I can at least make my own interpretations of other people's words, which I love to do. Yeah. I've totally lost my train of thought. What we were talking about. It happens when I start thinking way back.
Yeah, I know, it's Alzheimer's. Yeah, you're older than me, so it's got to be tough.
Oh.
I like to remind him of this, guys.
You used to be my friend.
Hey?
You used to be my friend.
That's okay. I didn't hear that. I'm going deaf. Awesome. All right, let's move on because we've got another question here.
Yes.
What instigated the idea of a book? Oh, this is a great question. This is from Kerry. What instigated the idea of a book? How did you know you had a message? That's a great question, Kerry.
Yeah, it is a great question, Kerry. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I realised that it was a book until just before I started writing it, to be honest. I knew, so essentially I always had this idea that I wanted to, I guess my message was always going to be told in some way, shape or form through an online teaching medium. And that is still the ultimate goal, is to turn this into an online teaching community medium. And yeah, I think I'd obviously thought at some stage that a book would be a great way to sort of and okay, so we just had a glitch in the system, and I don't know exactly where I was up to, but I'm just going to be totally transparent. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, my idea was always going to be an online teaching medium. I think I had thoughts of a book being a great medium to get that message across to help lead to that, but it was always the thought of this book being a great idea was constantly beaten down by the belief that I can't write, that I'm not, there's no way, you're not a writer, don't be stupid, there's got to be another way of doing it. And I really only found that belief after our conversation together. I'll be really honest about it, because I'd been to a few entrepreneurial courses where, you know, people spoke of books and how it was a great way to stamp your authority in your industry, or at least establish yourself as an authoritative figure of some form or other in your industry. And I could really see the value in that. And yeah, so I felt I just had to try, which is why I reached out to you when you were starting your course. And I think those discussions we had over me getting over the whole thing that we've already discussed about my perfectionism, this having to be a definitive book, and just look, let's just focus on where you are on your journey. And once I committed to it and started, there was no turning back.
That is awesome. And just Amy has shared was so epic, you broke the internet.
Now, you know what broke the internet? I've just moved to the Gold Coast a couple of weeks ago because I'm fortunate enough to be working with the Commonwealth Games at the moment with their cultural festival for a few months. So I've moved temporarily to the Gold Coast and got the NBN connected. And apparently the NBN at the Gold Coast drops out every 10 minutes.
Good job. Oh my gosh, love it. So I want to ask you, what's next in your business? What's the next steps? What have you got coming up? What's happening? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think the other thing the books helped me with was creating some content. So how I've envisaged my business was developing. I wanted to have at least a library of content for people to call on for when it comes time to monetize it. And so I'm building that through the form of blogs. I've taken excerpts from the books from some of my blogs, which has eased that burden along the way. So the next point of my business, what I'm about to start next month, I've started lining up podcast guests. So I'm starting a podcast next month aimed at my avatar, where I'm going to bring in a guest from different parts of the industry, because I figure, you've got to think of other ways to get your message out beyond your book. I mean, the book, like I said, for me, the book is a very important link in the chain, but I have to come at it from other angles. So yeah, a podcast, I'm hoping that to be a weekly thing. I hope I have the energy and the time to make that a weekly thing, if not a fortnightly thing, because I think that's going to be a hands-on way to share my message along with the other people. Like, for example, I've got a good friend of mine who's one of the leading casting agency directors in the country, who's coming on board. I'm doing a Skype with a friend in London who's in a hit West End show at the moment. So we've got a couple of different angles, because the idea is to try and cover everything that we cover in the book. So again, to fill those people in that are watching, that essentially the three pillars that I've built the formula around is obviously the talent side of things, which, as I said at the start, everyone has covered. They've spent their lifetime working on their talents. And the idea now is to focus on the other two pillars so that they can work on their own success. The second one is the strategy, which is all the business aspects. It's really trying to trying to inform performers that, as important as your talent is, it's one step. You're now an entrepreneur. Anyone that's out there selling a product, and performers are the product that they're selling, is an entrepreneur. So it's teaching them the business skills and that's been the challenge, trying to put that in a way that performers can relate to and not just switch off and go, business, don't want to know, I'm creative. So that's the second aspect. And then the third aspect was something that I think it was Nina or Fiona touched on earlier, was the inner self, the self journey, and how that is the important finishing thing. That's what keeps us going through this very trepidatious and this very cutthroat competitive industry. It is the journey of self along the way.
Yeah.
Trying to find different ways to expand the message is the next stage. And then my aim is to then, by the end of the Commonwealth Games, which will be end of April, late May, is to basically be then ready to start, hopefully, a community that I can then, I don't mean to feel guilty for saying it, but to essentially monetize a business. But I don't feel guilty in saying it because I'm going to have such huge offer. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to just touch on that really quickly. Just in case anybody else is having that same thought process. Here's the thing. If you don't monetize what you do and what you do well and what you share, you can't continue to do it. So stop that.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly right. And again, it's baby steps for me.
Yeah.
I've very much lived on the passive side of the scale of my life. So it's really, it's taking this step into the assertive world. But yeah, so it is. It's a way of sustaining, sustaining myself to keep that message going and to keep it evolving and to over deliver on value and see other people grow. And I can't wait to see other people benefit from this message.
Yeah. Love that. So we've got something that kind of builds on that as well. So Amy again. I know you like to freak out. This is great. I love that the book is a link. There is a bigger chain to see as well. And what I actually wanted to come back to what you said around that as well. And I'm so glad that Amy put that in, because what I love is that you're considering your audience, and that's what it's really about. And authors still, and I've said this to all you guys, the books don't sell, even for an author. Books don't sell. It's still the brand that sells. So it's actually it's not about the book for anyone, even for a writer, even for someone that has that as their living. So you've looked at what your audience wants. And yeah, the book is a part of that, but your audience needs these other things. So like Amy has said, it's a chain, a link in the bigger chain.
Yeah, look, for me at the moment, because I don't have that other product, yes, I'm selling the book. I'm selling that message. But look, I fully intend that the book aspect will become a lot cheaper once I have another product sell as an entry level thing. And then I fully envisage that perhaps in 6 to 9 months' time, this may even be a free lead magnet, with just pay for postage and handling to lead into the other products that are expanding on the message that this book has. Because the full intention of this book was to be an introductory guide, so that I had that scope to offer other platforms to offer the message.
Awesome. Amy wants to know where she can buy your book.
Oh, bless you, Amy. Thank you. Amazon.com. Yeah, it's on Amazon.com at the moment. And that's pretty much the only place at the moment. I know that's bad. I should be fully promoting, but I'm in tweaking zone at the moment. And I'm about to talk to Karen very shortly about doing a relaunch process through that once it's tweaked. And then I plan on finding a way to have a local distributor as well. But at the moment, it's Amazon.com, and I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. Do you still have hard copies left? Can they actually purchase them directly from you?
Yeah. You can absolutely purchase directly from me. Yeah, for sure. I do have some hard copies left because I did the bestseller program, and the bestseller program was around. That's great.
Yeah. No. Now we've got something totally different. Now we've got the elite program.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you all about it. So, I've got little pop-ups coming up here on Facebook covering my questions. Let me get rid of those. There we go. Okay, let me just move back up. Okay, Nina says, monetizing my book and expanding it into a wider range is what I want to do. Now you've one book out, and you said that you're going to tweak it and relaunch it. Do you see yourself writing more? I think you just answered this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The answer is yes. But no, thank you for the question, Nina. Absolutely. But yeah, definitely. Not tomorrow, but yeah, definitely. Because once I tweak this and once I focus on, like I said, the other platforms of getting the message out, then that's obviously the logical next step is to then perhaps write a book on a deeper level for, the next stage of audience in the journey.
Awesome. And then we've got Amy's calling you on your language. Could be, Lou should.
Thank you.
Even up it to Will.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you, Amy.
Oh,
it's been a while since I've been coached. I've been under a rock for 6 months.
I'll get you back out there.
Yes.
Nina says, love hard copies. I know, so much better to get your hands on them, right?
I've got to tell you, that surprised a lot of people because a lot of people, a lot of close friends of mine, like one guy that I'm working with, and I've worked with on and off for years, and he's done all sorts of musicals around the world in West End and stuff, and we're working together with the Commonwealth Games. And I bought him in a book, and he was like, I knew you did a book. I just assumed it was like an ebook that people would like read stuff online, like essentially saying I just thought it was like a glorified blog, basically. Is there anything wrong with that? But he goes, oh, right, it's an actual book. This is awesome. And like all of a sudden he goes, and so, I had to leave one with him because I would value his opinion on it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that it wasn't, this is real and that's not? Yeah.
And look, I guess I'm a bit old school like that. I'm like that with particularly with books. I'm not a Kindle person. That may change in years to come. I like the physical holding of the book. I'm the sort of person that will spend a fortune now that I read more on Amazon.com, to get 6 to 10 books shipped over from the States at a time, so that I've got the hard copies there.
Yeah, love that. So you're reading more now?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I started reading more this year, and again through this process, because it reminds you of how, just as much as I'm trying to help somebody through words, that there's words out there that can still help me. So
well said.
So
now Kerry's asked a question, and we'll see how you go with this one. How many hard copies do you recommend printing? And then we've got a second question after that. But I'll leave that. Let you with that one if you wish to.
Look, I think it's a very individual thing. If I'm going to pick a number out of midair, I would probably say somewhere around 50 to start with. I think that gives you enough to sort of satisfy immediate demand of sort of ones you want to give friends and family, initial sales at a book launch and things like that. And then you're not left with too many if it ends up being a struggle, or you may clear out and then print some more. But for me, 50 was a great round number that worked. I know there were some people that were in our last course that I think you've already spoken to that were far more aggressive than I was with their marketing.
Yeah, Francis sold out. Yeah.
Yeah, that sold out quite quickly, needed to reprint straight away. But look, having to reprint's a good thing.
Yes. She was waiting for me.
Yeah. And look, I think believe in your message enough to know that you're going to sell those books, or you're going to pass those books on. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So next question is tweaking. Kerry.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Like this. Is tweaking perfection at play, or is it essentially to add more or change something? Great question.
Was that Kerry, was it?
Come on, let's go. That was Kerry.
Was that Kerry?
Yep.
Kerry. Kerry's calling me on my shit, right?
Yep. There she is.
Yes. I'm going to say it's actually a bit of both. And I have actually asked myself this question, and because I actually had Karen's voice in my head when I was thinking about it. I've got to say my initial thing was, I just needed to make it better. But no, it's actually I think for me, like I said, I'm very proud of what I've done, but I think there's a couple of incomplete messages in there, and I just want to round a couple of things off. There's a couple of things that, like minor things that the editor missed, which sure, it's just adding a word in here and there and stuff. But
the editor whose name you spelt wrong, or whatever it was on the actual page where you said thank you to the editor.
No, I think what it was, his name wasn't
so
wrong. But we've got, I didn't say edited by, it's just
edited ender.
How ironic. A couple of little, so just a couple of little things like that. But yeah, it's just, I think because I'm so passionate about the message, and I think the formula is a great formula. Like I said, I know it will never be perfect, and that's not that I know deep down that isn't. It's just to make sure that I think there's a couple of better ways I can tweak that message. I'm not talking major changes. I'm actually talking just finishing the way I end a couple of the chapters. Really.
Yeah, so you're not changing your message or marketing or aiming a different audience. You're not.
No, God, no, God, no.
Just,
yeah. It's really just it's really to make sure that I'm expressing the message that I've already got here.
Yeah.
And it's only come from having that physical product, which is again for me like. Look, if I'd printed off 500 books, I would probably just say, bugger it and let's go. But again, I had just enough books. I've got a few left. So I figure, well, it's a good time. I'm going to print more anyway. I might just do a few tweaks. Like I said, I put some books out for some constructive feedback from my peers. And they've given me just a couple of, they've all said the great thing. They said they think it's a fantastic message. You've said it so well. A common thing I get is, wow, I wish we had this when we started out. So I know that the message is there. And it's just a couple of small adjustments here and there just to help express the message a little bit better, which I'm all for.
And that's very normal. Even writers, like for me, for Cupid's Guide even, I actually have an edit copy. So whenever I do print copies, I actually, I don't have one in hand, but I actually get a copy and I write on the front in big black text, edit copy, straight away. So one copy is strictly my edit copy. And then I'll leave that for probably a good month, because what you'll find is when you come back, you'll start picking up things that your brain has missed. You've read it 20 times and your brain's missed it. Yeah, and the editor's missed it.
Yeah, exactly. And essentially we're reading it off a screen over and over again, and it's one of those things you can only read it so many times before it becomes what it is in your head. And it's not till you actually then read it in a new format you go, oh, okay, oh yeah, right. But yeah, and certainly no way to get back to what you're saying before. It's not changing the message at all, or even growing it too much, because why do that? That's another book.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got the critical friendship within the program as well that kind of eliminates that as much as possible as well, because you're getting somebody else's view. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what other questions here? We've got a couple more that have jumped up, and I won't keep you too much longer because I know you're a very busy man. How much longer do we have you for, actually?
Oh, that's all right. I'm here as long as you need me. I will have to have a beer soon, but all good.
Oh, he's such an Aussie. I love it. So Amy said, oh, actually, let me just make sure I haven't missed anything before that. Yep, cool. So Amy says, I love Kindle, but nothing beats a physical book to put on my shelf. It's like a trophy, even somebody else's.
I'm the same with music, to be honest, too. I'm the same with music. I like it. Some artists, I like to actually have the CDs, the hard copy CDs.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've got a whole stack of CDs over here that you can't quite see. I've got CDs and DVDs. Like I'm the same. I'm not all electronic. I like to be able to hold things. Yeah. So get that completely. So just to finish off Amy's comment then, it's like a trophy, even when it's somebody else's and you reckon I'm mean. So Nina says, fine-tuning and polishing the original message. Nina, well said. Fine-tuning and polishing the original message. You're buffing up the original message. So what you're doing right now with your tweaking, you're buffing up that original message. Yeah, love it.
Yes,
Kerry.
absolutely, yeah. Sorry, it just had a glitch in my...
Oh, okay. We cool? We back?
Yeah.
So to start doing robot? Kerry would like to know, have you had people look at you differently because you're an author now? Oh, Kerry coming out with Oh, big ones.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, case in point, when I've given the book to people, it's almost like, oh, you're actually serious about this. It's that kind of thing, and it's like, wow. And I've had people just gush with pride. People that just even sort of not even close friends, but acquaintances, going, I'm so proud of you. Like, I didn't realize you're a writer. I didn't realize you could write. You know, of course, to which I say, either did I. That, like, not that that's the reason you do it, but it's a lovely byproduct of that pride. I mean, and you know, I always believe the only way a person can genuinely feel pride is by putting their best foot forward. You know, it's by taking that. You can only feel pride by taking a purposeful step to better yourself. It's the only, I don't know any other. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know any other ways you can feel pride other than taking a purposeful step and then looking back and going, oh, I did that. That's awesome.
That is so well said. I'm going to steal that quote. I'll send you the form for you to sign off to say I can use it. You know what I'm talking about. So, Fiona, I listen to books on Audible and adore it when the author reads their own book.
I've thought of that.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Guys, you just sent me a whole bunch of things and I pushed it off. It feels very personal, but when I love a book, I'll buy the physical book to have it in hard copy too.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I actually thought that I'd like to do in conjunction with the relaunch.
We'll definitely talk, because I am actually looking at that to bring that into the program as well. So
and I
should have access.
Yeah, I think when I first picked up Tony Robbins' book, The Awaken the Giant Within, I listened to the audio book first, and partly because it was him telling his message as only Tony can tell it, you know, because let's face it, for a non-reader, when you pick up that book, it's like a brick. It's like it's not a quick
reader. You pick up that book and it's like a brick.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Thank you for validating me. But hearing him tell his message in such an impassioned way, it adds another layer, I think, to the passion behind the message, which I think is, I guess, if I can add my own personal passion to the message and not sound retarded while I do it, then that's great.
Love it. Now, Nina would like to know, great question. Do you write directly to electronic or paper method?
Ooh, bit of both. I find I need paper. I need paper for a lot of stuff. I find you too, Nina. She's nodding. I can see her nodding. I find I need to. What I'll often do is I'll type chunks. I'll print the page out, and then I'll go over and make pencil markings. To answer your question, I couldn't possibly do the whole thing on computer. Not just for me. We all work differently. I find, I'll often get stuff out on the computer. Even when I do my blogs and stuff, I'll do the same thing. I write on the computer, and then I find I've got to print it out and kind of look at it, make pencil marks, move things around here and there, and then I can shuffle them on the computer as I do the same thing. So for me, it kind of works in conjunction. So it's definitely a mixture of both for myself. I found that works best for me.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know, because you're in the first group, you've missed out on something that's kind of come into the program now, which is a really great program that we haven't got to yet, guys. So getting a bit of a snippet. Some of you I've already told this to, but we now have available a resource, which is speech to text, a really, really fantastic program. So now we can, if we choose to, actually talk to the computer. So I actually did Cupid's Guide 2 that way. I actually didn't type Cupid's Guide 2. I actually sat back and I dictated the whole thing speech to text, and then I'm going back in and editing. So I'd be interested, how would that have been for you?
Yeah, so using a combination of methods, I guess. Yeah, I guess a bit of both. I've done, I did a couple of, before I did this book, Karen would know, I did a couple of like training, sort of 2 to 3 minute videos with some of the content that I ended up using in the book. And for some of that stuff, I did while I was driving in the car, pressing record on my dictaphone app on the phone. And so, yeah, I did a bit of that. And then I did exactly that. I played it back, typed it. It wasn't a speech-to-text thing, but I literally listened back, typed it out. So it was a mixture of the Audible thing as well. And that was quite... So, yeah, if that's another medium that's available, great. I just don't think I could ever rely on one medium alone. I think it would need to be a mixture of things. For me,
like variety. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. And you probably wouldn't. I don't know if you might get this or you might not. So for me, it also depends on what I'm writing in the character and what I'm actually in. So I'll find that for some books, I'm better off writing in the morning. For others, I'm better off writing at night. So for Harvey, I found that he had me up late at night. But
yes,
for the Right Now book, it was morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, same thing I think too. And I guess being a performer, my hours have always been subnormal hours to many other people. Like my natural 8 hours of sleeping, I sit naturally at 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. That would be my sweet spot if I could sleep those hours. I need 8 hours sleep. I'm one of those people. I think I do. But yeah, 2 to 10 is my optimum. So I come alive and my brain switches on and goes into optimum mode at probably about 10 o'clock at night. So I'll sit up. I probably was most active with writing between about 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Would be a really dense few hours.
I'm glad that we've touched on that, actually. For me, I'm a very morning person. I get my best writing, except for Harvey. He was really painful. I get my best writing done in the mornings between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So it's really good to show the guys that it doesn't matter. You go with whatever suits you and whatever's going to work with you. And there doesn't have to be a set.
Absolutely. We play to our strengths in that respect as well. I mean, we have to find out when we're most creative, when we can use that outlet to our advantage the most. It's the same as like gym. Some people love to go to gym and get the most out of gym first thing in the morning. Like some get up at stupid o'clock in the morning. I call 8 a.m. stupid o'clock in the morning. But others like myself, I'll prefer to go at night, before I have a late dinner.
Yeah, or some of us just don't. I've got some agreement there.
Don't get me wrong, I haven't for about 4 months now. I figure
I can tell.
Like how long can I keep the festive period lasting? At least till Easter.
Well, that's it. Like everything Easter's already in the shops. We might as well just, keep it going. It's fine. All right. So, oops, I've just clicked on the wrong button. Bear with me for a sec, guys. There we go. All right. So Kerry. Oh, another great one from Kerry. Curious, what is your elevator pitch for your book? Do you have one?
I don't, Kerry.
Yeah. Because this is funny. I just want to kind of give you a bit of a pre-frame on this. This has been mentioned and put into one of the new current trainings. So you were probably never advised to that. So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. I have read the importance of that since writing the book, and it's something that I've meant to focus some time on coming up with. But everyone from Richard Branson through to other people always recommend having your elevator pitch. So you're right, it's something, and that's probably why I struggled a bit with the blurb, because essentially I guess your blurb is a bit of your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think coming up with my catchphrase, I know I agonized over that with Karen forever. I was looking for just some succinct way to essentially label my is it my mission or my vision? I don't know which one it is, but it's essentially create your success.
Yeah.
Because that's what my message is. It's a way I'm wanting to provide performers with the tools to create their own success.
Yeah.
And I was kind of explaining this to Karen, and she said, "You realise you've just said it." Yeah, thanks.
It happens so many times. And I actually had I had one of the girls in the previous group just do that to me with my current book. I was talking to her about it, and I just said the words, the human concept. And she's like, did you hear what you just said? And that's actually from the title of my book. So it's so funny that you can say the thing that you mean, and it takes somebody else sometimes to kind of go, hey.
Which is again the importance of a group like this. You guys, as much as as much as while you're actually doing your physical writing, it's a solitary activity. The project is not. Utilize each other. It's just going to make your job easier. You've all got different views on life. We all have different beliefs and different ways. Bounce off each other and see how your belief of something bounces off somebody else's belief, and maybe it could trigger a better way of explaining your belief or your message. But yeah, totally. That's why this forum that Karen's created, I think, is part of why it's so invaluable, is because you've got a community of people that are all trying to do the same thing. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a group of people that are willing to give as just as much as they get from it, then what more could you want?
And I've got a group of, these guys have been incredible. These guys are action takers. I'm trying to keep up with them. And they're constantly, they're so helping each other out, and they've got each other's backs. They've been absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah. So let's see what other questions we have. Amy says, I played with that one the other day. It was awesome.
So many things I want to say right now, Amy.
I'm just going to move on.
Oh, speech to text. Speech to text. She's talking about
speech to text. Yeah.
I'm glad that came up at just the right time, because my mind was wandering. Happy Valentine's Day.
Wandering with yours, holding hands.
I don't think I've ever seen Amy blush before.
Yes. Oh God, that's so good. Okay. And Fiona says, I'm stupid o'clock person. Yeah, stupid o'clock morning, stupid o'clock night.
Sorry, I do not mean to disrespect you at all, Fiona. Many of my friends call my hours stupid o'clock.
Yeah, I'm stupid o'clock. I love stupid o'clock in the morning. I do love it. But I also like stupid o'clock at night, and I kind of don't sleep for many hours. Yes. So
my friend was telling me the other day, she got up at 5 a.m. or she went and did something at 5 a.m. and I went, I'm sorry? She was like, at 5 a.m. and I went, 5 a.m.? What? 5 a.m.? I don't understand what you're saying.
No, understand. Oh my goodness. Amy, speech to text doesn't happen often. About once a year. I'm stupid o'clock too. I wake at about 4:30 a.m. Can you say that one? No.
You lost me. Speak to Mandarin. Amy has kids though.
Hey?
Amy does have kids though.
Yes, she does. She does, which probably wake her up at continuously. So starting to get past my bedtime. Yeah, Amy, we're actually just about to close it off. So I do have one more question for you that I want to ask. Oh, hold on. Kerry's just asked, what category is the book in on Amazon?
That's a very good question. It's been a while since I thought about that.
I believe it was arts, performing.
Yes, it was arts, performing, something. And I believe there's a subcategory there to do with some sort of self-help category that's under that, but it's not.
I'll share it. Yeah, I'll share
it. Sorry, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, easy. Got it covered. So I did have one more question before you go, and that is, anyone that was looking at doing this program, so this is not for the guys who are actually in it, this is for if anyone was looking at doing this program and hadn't quite made the decision yet, what would you say to them?
Take the step. If you believe you've got even the smallest message to tell that could help the smallest, most laser focused niche, do it. I just think we all have a greater purpose on this planet to not only experience life to the fullest, but to help others experience life to the fullest as well. I also see it as kind of selfish. I love the whole fact that giving is selfish, because the feeling you feel, it's amazing. But sorry, I digress. Take the step. If you believe you've got a message to tell, don't get caught up in how can I do it. The ins and outs of how it's going to happen. Karen's there to help you with that. She has the perfect Scrolls program for that. And if you're lucky enough to be in one of her communities that, like we're talking at the moment, where you have a community of like-minded people and people that want to share their message as well to bounce off, there is no way you cannot succeed. So just take the step outside the comfort zone. This is coming from someone that hadn't stepped outside their comfort zone for many, many, many years. And here's the proof. So step outside your comfort zone.
Love it. Oh my goodness. Well, you are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for being so honest, so open, giving your time to us tonight, answering all those amazing questions. You've got Nina who said she wants to buy a hard copy of your book. So we'll connect you guys up. And Kerry said congratulations. So you are absolutely
congratulations to all you guys for taking the step and going through this journey. As I said at the very start, stick with it. If you haven't had the thought yet of quitting, you will. You absolutely will. But please stick with it. Stick with the program. Remember why you're doing this, and think of the people that are going to benefit from your message. Just please stick with it, and you will feel so much pride at the end of the journey. But congratulations to all of you guys.
Thank you. You are absolutely.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks, Karen, for doing this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being with us. You are one of my star pupils. I do say that about everyone, but
I was going to say she says that to everyone.
Yeah, I do. No, you are awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciated. And to everyone out there who's watching who hasn't jumped on board yet, just remember we're all about finding your voice, sharing your message, and changing the world. So we hope to see you on board soon. Thank you again, David.
Thanks very much,
Love you.
guys.
See you later.
Cheers. See ya.